this once a month, every second Wednesday of the month. And we usually have 1-2 speakers that will share their experience and relevant topics for startup and smaller ICT companies. But before I begin, SCS usually runs about 3 events a week. So I think there are quite a number of events that SCS is running next week. So what I'll do is that I will send you the link in the chat box. Okay, and you guys could actually go to the website and figure out how to see what events you would like to join. Okay, and also if you guys have any questions, please use the chat box to ask, because we don't want to have many sounds all over. So basically, if you guys could mute your audio, that'll be fantastic. Okay, let's begin with today's session. Right, this month we are really very fortunate to have 2 outstanding individuals with us, Jason Liao and Kenneth Tan. They are both conferred the IT Leaders Award, Tech Heroes from Crisis. Right, this award actually aims to recognize outstanding achievements of experienced industry leaders, as well as young entrepreneurs and young professionals who have actually contributed to build a vibrant and competitive ICT industry in Singapore. Jason is an experienced software developer with a non-profit organization called Tech for Good, Better.sg, sorry. And Better, it is a community that was created many applications, or rather, Jason has created many applications during the crisis to actually help the community. Some examples are Tapao Dash, which connect food hawkers and delivery riders and customers directly. Majulah Belanja, to match the need of migrant workers and donors, and also to provide peer-to-peer support, and a lot much more, right? So maybe what I'll do is I'll ask Jason to tell us a little bit more about himself and what he does, right? And before I go to Kenneth, Jason, please.
Hi everyone. Jason here. Thanks for the introduction, Chuck. So for me, for my day job, I'm an entrepreneur. I run my own design consultancy, working mostly with government agencies and nonprofits. So, but I'm really here today for my voluntary work, my pro bono work with Better.sg. Better.sg was started by Gaurav and a bunch of other tech folks. It's a non-profit, and there's many volunteers like I am. So we just volunteer to use technology for social good. And so some of the stuff that Chuck was talking about, like last year during circuit breaker, I went to create some tools to help migrant workers, to help hawkers who might need delivery drivers. So these are some of the examples that I made, and that's what got me my award with SES.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jason. Incredible, because I had a conversation with Jason. I says, you must be a serious developer, and he told me that he only learned programming and started development more than 2 years ago. Right before that, he's actually a lot more a designer than anything else. I said, wow, it's such an achievement, right? Thank you. So the other outstanding individual that I have with me is Kenneth. He's the co-founder and CEO of BeLife, right? Founded in 2017. BeLife's focus is actually is on actually live streaming, right? And it's a software as a service solution. And during the pandemic, Kenneth and his team actually recognized that his tool can be used to help companies to generate much needed revenues during the tough time to sustain their businesses. So not to steal the thunder from Kenneth, right? Perhaps I can get him to tell a little bit about himself and the company.
Sure. Thanks, Chuck, helping SCS obviously for hosting me, and Jason, pleasure to be co-attending this event with you. Hey guys, my name is Kenneth. I run BeLife Technology. We focus on helping businesses use live video to improve their engagements and conversions with their customers. So I'm super excited to be here and learn from you guys. We did see certain use cases during the pandemic, specifically to help retailers, when they really needed to keep their revenues going, use live video streaming to make that happen. So some of our use cases locally include M1, Telco M1, and Changi Airport Group, Suntec City Mall. Globally and internationally, we have Rakuten, which is Japan's largest e-commerce platform. They use the technology to do live streaming, and Bukalapak in Indonesia as well. So I think this is something that we're super excited about. We do see live video streaming as a communication medium of the future, and hope to hear your thoughts as well and get your feedback on what we're working on. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, thank you so much. Maybe the first question I have for you guys, right, is that you guys actually provided your tools and your ideas, and your platform to your clients and people, that you described earlier, right? Really, how do you guys came up with the idea during this tough time? Maybe Jason, I can start with you, right? As a developer, right? You realize that you could help those in need, right? Okay. I heard about your favorite hawker store, right? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, and how did you, get the idea to say, hey, perhaps technology can help,
Right. Yeah. So I think roll back to circuit breaker just a year ago, right? So we just celebrated the anniversary. I think personally we were all stuck at home in a way. Can't go out, and then a lot of social issues were emerging, because due to safe distancing measures, the income for hawkers were going down. Some of them might even have to close down because they can't have dine-in, and that just got me a bit concerned because I think every Singaporean loves their food, right? So this was one part of my culinary legacy that I didn't want to lose, especially my favorite hawker stalls. And being stuck at home also made me feel like, oh, is there anything that I can do to help them, even if I can't go out, So I thought about using my development skills, using no-code tools to help them. That's on my personal side, but also from circuit breaker, observing that there were a few there were popular Facebook groups like Hawkers United and all that were started, and during that time there were suddenly a lot of publicly viewable Google Sheets that everyone started collating, all the resources for various vulnerable groups. So that got me thinking about creating something for hawkers, for whoever needed help, migrant workers as well. Yeah, and that got me started on Tapao Dash. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Kenneth, from your perspective, right? Yours is a live streaming tool,
Yeah.
right? And most organization doesn't want to use technology, especially during the tough time, right?
Yeah.
How do you actually go about, trying to convince your client? I read your citation, right? You made millions of dollars for your clients, right? During the pandemic period.
Right.
So how do you convince them?
Right. So I think the education and evangelizing part, right? I think I wouldn't take credit for it because unfortunately everybody was forced to digitize really quickly, and live video streaming happened to be on the top of their on top of mind share because of the success that places like China had, and it was part of exploratory engagement by most of the businesses we spoke to. Obviously, there are some businesses who are very hesitant because of the lack of experience. So just to share a bit about how we actually try to guide them through the process. We used to be B2C platform actually. We raised funds in 2017 to do a live streaming social media platform, which involves individuals like you and me, or even influencers, celebrities, whatnot, to go on live stream on our platform and engage their fans, engage their contemporaries, and engage their friends as well. So we did not succeed in that case, but we gained so many valuable insights on how to produce good live streams. So live streaming is not only about the technology. The technology is just a medium, right? The important portion is the content creation as well. So that's what we really focus on. We try to guide them in how to produce good content. So when we say we made millions of dollars for them, it was actually a byproduct of many failed engagements all the way back from 2017. And I wouldn't really take credit for any of that. We really wanted to help them grow, and the businesses themselves were really receptive, and we're super thankful that happened.
I think you're right. I mean, a lot of the guys are actually forced to
Yes,
use technology, right?
Correct.
But Jason, your point is actually very interesting, because you are actually dealing with a group of people who is low tech, which is hawkers, right? How did they get the revelation that, hey, tech will definitely help me with my business?
I think that wasn't intuitive to them.
Yes.
So it's not easy to get them to onboard, actually, like speaking to other developers who also develop food delivery platforms. So my approach was to be as low tech and as easy as possible. So I like getting them to maybe sign up for a platform, create an account might be really hard. They might not even have time to do that, in fact. But I'm sure they use the browser. So which is what my approach which was the approach I took, because Tapao Dash is like a community board. And on the website, there's a table of people who are offering delivery services and hawkers who need delivery services. So any hawker can just go on the browser, go to this website, and then just scroll down, read through the contact names of the drivers, and then call them themselves. Instead of having to onboard, set up a lot of things to go through. So I think making it very, 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 very the barrier as low as possible was what I went with. Yeah, and my other projects during COVID then was using a lot of no-code tools. So what no-code tools are like? I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with Squarespace, Wix, all these website builders that doesn't require you to know any programming. So no-code tools are like this new generation that's similar to Squarespace and Wix, but imagine, like for example, Tapao Dash, it was a website that's created based on Google Sheets. So everything from the, what color of the button to the background image to the table that you see and all that are done in Google Sheets. That's the good thing about that is, so when I hand over to NGO whom I'm working with, for example, like the other one that I did was Majula Belanja. So it's like a wish list for migrant workers who are stuck in dormitories. So when I handed over to the NGO, the volunteers, right, they could just run with it very easily because everyone knew how to use a spreadsheet. Right? Everyone knew how to use Google Sheets. So the barrier was also low. So that was my approach, to try and like make it as easy and as democratizing as possible.
It's interesting because I think what two of you brought up, right, is really going to the lowest denominator, right? Take away the fear of technology, right? So in Canada, your part, on your side is actually, talking about content, right? People know about content quite easily than coding, right? Whereas on Jason's side, you are looking at things are already happening, right? A spreadsheet has been around since Lotus 123, right? So it's easy to fill up the form. It's just a very good a method of actually engaging your customer, right? Maybe the next question I want to explore, right, is like, now I remember you talk about Kenneth, because I did remember seeing your demo on a B2C site, right? Getting influencers on videos, right?
Right.
Yeah. How did you get the inspiration? I mean, you talk about many years, right, of actually pivoting, right? Now, how did you get to this point, right, where you find that, hey, it's not about the technology, right? It is about the usage, right? In this particular case, you understand that it is content. How did you get to this point, right, where at the back of your head, you really want to go forward, but how do you actually then pivot to where you are today, so that people can take it on from there?
Yeah, so I think it was a mixture of luck and seeds that we planted way back when we started our B2C platform. So when we were starting our B2C platform, and we got an investment from MediaCorp, and Speaker of Parliament Tan Chuan Jin, we actually wanted to make sure that we grew in a very sustainable and ethical way for live streaming content. Because live video content in 2017, not much of shopping, mostly people chatting and engaging with each other. So we wanted to be a little bit more ethical in terms of content. We're super focused on that. But at the same time, we actually focused a lot and invested a lot in our technology as well, live streaming technology. So it's funny that I said that we are a technology company, but we think content is important. But the barrier for live streaming content is super high. In order to be a good producer of live video content, you need a lot of training, equipment. Obviously, you have Facebook live sellers now that do really cool videos, but they do have some form of magnetic personality, or at least a salesman persona, right? So that's what we realized when we were doing our B2C platform. Unfortunately, we ran out of cash in 2018, right? When we're still running our B2C platform, because the metrics that mattered for social platforms especially were stuff like retention, DAU, MAU, if you have a monetization capability, ARPU, average revenue user. Every single one of these metrics for the BeLive streaming platform were pretty mediocre. We had 1 million downloads, yes, but not many people continue using it. So we quickly faced a point where we had to either choose between shutting down the company or look for something else. So that's the luck factor came in, and the seeds we planted. Remember, I talked about ethical streaming, right? We actually attracted our first customer, Rakuten. They actually came to us and said, hey, we want to launch a live streaming platform in Japan. We have 10,000 engineers. It would take us 8 to 12 months to develop a live streaming technology, and we don't want to partner with someone who's from China. So that's important, right? For them, they don't want to, and the American companies as well. So they spoke to us, and we entered in collaboration. We launched Rakuten Live. They have 100 million monthly active users, right, Rakuten? So along the way, we had many failures as well. We couldn't support more than 1 million users, for example. And through all these failures, we brought it to last year. And when we spoke to the companies, because we have failed so many times, we wanted to make sure they have as little failures as possible, and we wanted to translate our experience and help them achieve success. And thankfully, we did. Yeah,
it's cool. I mean, as a startup, there'll be both failures and successes, right? But I think the whole concept of being resilient, right, is actually extremely important. Talking about failures, Jason, right? Have you ever come across your mind, right, that you take your time to build all these things for the hawker, for the migrant worker, and then nobody wants to use it?
Yeah, totally.
How do you overcome that? How do you overcome from the perspective that if it fails, then what? And if not, how do you make it happen? For them.
For me, it's that's why I think I like to start products with using no code tools.
Very easy.
Because it's very easy to write. So like for Taobao Dash, I could get it out within a few days, and within a few days I could launch it, share it on Facebook groups, Telegram groups, whatever, and then just kind of validate whether there's really an interest and demand for it. Look at the traffic analytics. Look at how many people are actually posting requests and posting and all that. So minimize the commitment of resources before I even validate, right, whether there's a product market fit, so-called, so to speak. But after that, getting it out there, distribution and marketing was also a challenge, because after all, I'm just a solo developer. So being able to share it, find the right places to share it, was the challenge, I think. And then sometimes, like when you want to share something on Facebook groups, they tend to have quite strict rules about self-promotion. So how do you work around that? Some of the products I did actually didn't take off, and that's fine, because then I just spent a few days, a week, it didn't really take off, then I just leave it as that. Yeah.
It's interesting that both of you brought up that actually the successes are not by automatic or you guys actually have to work at it, like Kenneth mentioned, right? Even in your old days when you failed, you look at the numbers, you look at the activities, you look at, as Jason mentioned, right? Whether people download, people see, people do whatever it is. You have to monitor and see whether and react to the whole entire situation. I think that is actually a very good lesson for many of our startups and product managers actually.
Yeah.
Jason, there's a question for you. How do you acquire the hawkers initially? Did you have to go to the store by store to convince them?
Right. Yeah, that's the interesting thing. I think that I would have went store by store to convince them if it wasn't circuit breaker. But because we all had to do it remotely, we can't go. We shouldn't go out so much, right? Not encouraged to go out. So I had to find another way. So initially, I think a lot of the traffic came from the Hawkers United Facebook group. Yeah, so all the hawkers were congregated there. So it was a place for them to like share and sell and promote their food, right? But I noticed that quite a lot of questions from the hawkers themselves, like, oh, how are you guys finding delivery drivers and all that? So there was a need as well. So I just kind of posted it there, social media platforms or whatever, and where it can get picked up. And that was how the initial acquisition was done. And then after that, it was more kind of word of mouth. I think the fact that it was a not-for-profit kind of initiative, it also helped because they are aware of the food delivery, the giant food delivery platforms, but they are also aware of the huge commission that they had to give up to sign on to those platforms. So they were quite happy to have other like not for profit and lower cost kind of platforms.
An alternative platform.
Yes, yeah, ground up.
Right. Guys, looking at the both of you, I mean, we are from not the same generation, I would say. So I'm actually very, very heartened, right, that you guys have this, what I call the community mindset, right? The mindset to go and really help the community. Because a lot of people tells me that, oh, helping the community, putting back into society, maybe we will do that when I make my money, or finish my career, whatever that would be, right? But I think the whole concept of actually community mindset is extremely important to the startups and actually to the young generation as well. Because basically, as you mentioned, right, Jason, people want an alternative because there are actually, some what do you call that, incumbent in the industry, right? Maybe Jason, I'll start with you, right? What does the company that you work for think, for you spending time, right, your own time, worry that, you will not do your work, right?
The funny thing is I'm self-employed, so I am the company.
You are
so
the company.
I get to decide. But for me personally, I think entrepreneurs, I mean, all entrepreneurs here, right? So I think we are usually quite purpose-driven. Right? For me, my purpose is really about how do I find work that I find meaningful, gives back to society. That's why in my day job I do my consultancy, but I work only with government and non-profits. So it's always been the intersection of design, development, and social impact has always been something that drives me and motivates me. So I think that really helps in that sense.
So Kenneth, you are definitely not self-employed. You have shareholders to convince, right? So how do you convince your shareholders and your partners, right, that this is the right way to go?
Right, I'm super fortunate to have shareholders that are also what we call purpose-driven, like Jason mentioned. Obviously, there are people, the shareholders will definitely expect some form of growth from the company, but they also do understand, especially during the circuit breaker, that live video streaming is something that can potentially be very impactful in the change of how people go about their day-to-day lives, like how we communicate with loved ones, friends, family, or even colleagues. So it wasn't that tough for me to convince them once we had a use case. And obviously they very important the fact that they give us full support in how we run the business. And as again I mentioned, very fortunate that they're very purpose-driven. Didn't have to do much buy-in actually. But I think there will definitely be cases where entrepreneurs face a lot of pressure to grow very quickly, especially where your business doesn't make sense with what you're trying to do to build or forge a community. So in these cases, right, I think your team has to come together with you, and you have to be communicating as a team again to the investors or the shareholders, right? So it's up to you as a CEO, as an entrepreneur to communicate this for sure. But if you've been all the way very purpose-driven and focused on giving back, and obviously when you're on board your investors, you want to work with people who are like-minded, that's something that I think shouldn't be too difficult as well.
I think there's a couple of lessons there. One is that really, if you are choosing your partners, you have to make sure that they are pretty much similar mindset, and not only that, it also about your investors as well. Actually, it's interesting because about a year ago, actually, we did a session, a tech hour, talking about surviving through the crisis, and I invited some entrepreneurs who actually started his business, and then downturn came immediately, right? The financial crisis or whatever. And I think the common thread I see between the discussion there and here, right, is that in order to survive through the tough time, we have to focus on our customer, right? Basically, provide them, whether it's the hawkers, the workers, the migrant workers, or in your case, the e-commerce corporates, right? We need to understand, what they require, right, and actually serve them, right? And I think that's where the success, I guess, will come. And then in order to serve them, as we talked about earlier, is really looking at monitoring what you guys are delivering, right? And not just deliver through to you and I walk off, right? And good luck to you, type. And we have to monitor and say, hey, are you guys using it? How are you using it? Can I change to make it better? And things like that. I think that's something which I think is actually resonate quite loudly, right? Between the sessions.
Yeah, so we actually place a lot of emphasis on customer success, which is what I'm talking about. We have built a team to do that. And that's basically, if they succeed, we succeed. Our North Star is, we have a North Star metric, number of live video hours streamed. The more our customers stream, the more successful they are, and the more successful we are as well. Yeah.
Great. Hey, for you, Kenneth, it's very easy because you have specific customers, and
Yes,
Jason, how about you? Right? Does your hawkers come to you and thank you or not?
Yeah, sometimes I do get an occasional message, or thanks for doing this, like that is non-profit and stuff like that.
It must be quite rewarding.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to have that feedback, and also it's a great chance for me to also engage them.
Yes.
But like Kenneth was saying, customer success, right? Yeah, like, I can get to ask them, is this really helping? What else can I do? And stuff like that. So it's great, both win-win.
Right. Just now the question for Jason was from Wei Liang. Thank you so much for the question, Wei Liang. Maybe if you guys have more questions, just type away, right? But I will continue to engage in conversation with our two gentlemen here. So guys, what's next for you guys, right? Jason, would you be developing more applications, or are you tired of that? You're going to the next level, helping government, NGOs and things like that?
Yeah, the funny thing is, I think now I'm struggling to find projects to do. I want to do more.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to do more. I want to continue what COVID circuit breaker started. But the interesting thing is, I think it was a lot more obvious what the social issues were, which groups needed help during circuit breaker. Migrant workers were in the dormitories, they needed help. Hawkers needed help. Nurses, healthcare practitioners needed help. But now that with a year on, things are starting to feel a bit more stable. But so it's actually harder to find what social issues, what projects to work on. So actually, I'm trying to. I started a crowdsourcing kind of project to basically two things. One is to find projects, so connect with people, NGOs, ground up volunteers, or even companies who want to give back. Yeah, to find problems to work on. Yeah. Then the other part of that project is also to crowdfund, because some of these products that I made are still live. So like I still need to pay for the web hosting, the domain hosting, and all that. So I also do hope to crowdfund and raise some funds to cover some of that.
Cool. Please put the link into the chat box and the
Sure.
Facebook,
Yeah.
so that if we can help, we would love to help, right? And I think also more than that, right? If I'm sure you're also open if there are more people who want to help putting not money but their skills and strength, right? To make it even better and stronger,
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Open to collaboration and all that. If you're an individual developer, designer, or your company who wants to have a bit of more social kind of contribution, then please contact me.
Yeah. So there was a question by someone that says, how do they contact you guys? Maybe you guys can put your email into the chat box, right? Then everybody can see, right? That would be good, right? Yeah. So how about you, Kenneth? Yours is a little bit more easier from that perspective, because now that you find a little niche, right? That you guys are doing it, are you going to really bring it to the next level, and how are you going to bring it to the next level?
Yeah, so we do see a lot of current issues in how live video, especially live video selling, is being conducted on Facebook Live. Not really issues, but I think problems and pain points we can help alleviate. We want to make sure that we want to try, especially in these 2 years, to kind of see how well we can proliferate live video streaming as a communication medium. And we just completed our pre-Series A round, and we are actually using those funds to very quickly and efficiently and cheaply, working together with Enterprise Singapore, IMDA, to see how we can get SMEs in Singapore to use video streaming at a low cost. We want to scale with them. It's not so much about how much money we can make from them, it's how much money that they can use to sustain their business during these tough times, especially phase 2 and stuff. The gyms, for example, working with them as well. So this year is all about getting video streaming to be more widely adopted. We do think that it is inevitable that everybody will need live video at some point or the other. Even now, we're using live video to communicate, right? So I think our aim is to help build and accelerate the adoption of live video. That's our mission. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, the question was actually by Kevin, right? Kevin asked, so Kevin, the contacts are actually in the chat box, right? So you guys can pick up the number from there. Okay, guys, I really appreciate the time I spent with you guys. I mean, it's actually opened up a lot of how would I say, opportunities for me to think, right? Hopefully that the audience can pick up some of the things that you talked about in terms of getting adoption by the lowest denominator. Don't go and use super duper tech, right? And it sounds really very good and looks very sexy, right? But people do not know how to use, no point, right? And the other one is really be very focused on the customer, right? The guys that you guys are targeting, right? So basically those are the things I think what do you call that? It's really going to be the critical success factor, I would say, right? In terms of making this thing work. Any last words from you guys? Any words of encouragement to either the startup community or the social community? Maybe Kenneth, you want to go first?
Sure. Continue doing what you're doing. Never give up. There might be times where your path seems very dim and not as illuminated as you envisioned it to be when you first started. But I always have this ongoing joke with my co-founder and CEO. As long as we are still around, there'll be things, right? And continue to plant seeds. By planting seeds, I mean speaking to people, networking. I think Chuck, you really brilliantly mentioned as well. Entrepreneurs don't network enough. That's very, very true. I think we're so heads deep into a product or whatever that we don't bother to reach out. And I'll just give you an example. One of my fellow contemporaries, my fellow founder in the media space, I met him after 6 months or so of not even speaking to him. We were really close friends. We just decided to take some time up to have coffee, and within this 20 or 30 minutes of speaking with him, I actually came out with a business model that helped me raise my pre-Series A funding. So that's a conversation I didn't expect to have, and it happened over networking session, coffee session, right? So I think that's network more, plant more seeds, and don't give up. Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah, I really like what Kenneth shared about reaching out. I think now that we most of us are working from home and all that, so I think social isolation, you can feel even more lonely. I think like entrepreneurs' journey already very lonely, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, remote even worse. So yeah, do reach out, and I'm thanks to Chuck for organizing all these meetups. I think it's very helpful and to feel a sense of like belonging to a community. I feel. Yeah.
There's a question from Isaac. He says, those who are still students, right? Is there anything they can do?
In the context, if you don't mind, let me just start. I think in the context of things that can be done to give back, I think there's a lot of initiatives out there, and in your community itself, there will be definitely a lot of people who need help. You can start with your people that matter to you a lot, or within your circle, how we can value add to the people that are close friends of your friends. That's one. If you are speaking about how we can improve, I'm sure definitely you have a network of mentors. If you don't, LinkedIn's a great place to reach out. Both Jason, myself, and Shak, of course, will be very happy to engage in further conversations as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think how to start for students. You can, I mean, I'll be happy to chat, to link you up to any project that or interest that you might have. You can also check out, like I'm part of better.sg, right? So you can also check out the website. There's a lot of ongoing projects, like tech for good kind of projects on the better.sg website. So you almost can just it's a menu, you can just look through and choose the one that interests you most in terms of a social issue or certain. They also say like, oh, we need a designer or we need a developer. So you can also go by the type of roles that you like. So that's one good place to start, I feel. And join the Facebook group, because then you can connect with the rest and start figuring out like where you would like to contribute to.
And then for those of you who are actually IT or ICT area, Singapore Computer Society actually has a student chapter, right? And I'm pretty sure your school will have one, because I remember we have probably about 20, 30 chapters in Singapore. So most of the schools are in there. So find out who are the chapter heads in your school, right? And there are a lot of activities like this, free events in SCS, like Jason and Kenneth mentioned. There are also a lot of websites that you can actually check out, where you can volunteer either by role or by interest or whatever it would be, right?
Yeah.
Hey guys, I really appreciate the time you guys spend with us, right? I think it's a good 45 minutes chat, and I've actually learned so much from you guys in terms of your community mindset, and I really appreciate you guys spend time to actually share what you guys have done, right? And congratulations again on your award. Right?
Thanks so much.
Very well deserved.
Yes. Thanks, guys, for listening to our monologues.
Thank you.
All right. We will catch up next month, right? If not, thank you so much for joining. Guys, thank you again. We'll see you all next time.
Bye. See you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.